Abby Mello, and I'm a comic.
Hi, Abby. Thanks for coming today. You run a fantastic show here every month called the Lip Service Show, isn't that right?
Yes, I do. You do most of the work. I just host it sometimes.
Well, I was hoping you would say that, so thank you for your answer. Now, Abby, you are a teacher, and you teach psychology, is that right?
That's correct.
Now, if you had to write a book about the psychology of comedians, what would be the title and what would it be about?
Yeah, the title would be, This is Cheaper Than Therapy, because that's what everybody says at open mics. But I think that I would really explore the fact that most male comics are deeply into wrestling and comic books, and that also all of the women comics seem to have an obsession with astrology. So I think as a psychologist, I would get really deep into why that is.
I like a couple of those things, but wrestling is not the one that I like. Now, you and I have gone on the road together a lot. We've done a lot of road trips together.
Many miles.
Who is more fun on a road trip, me or your boyfriend?
So at least with Greg, I can get a word in edgewise, Michael. But I will say you have much more amusing stories.
Much more amusing, terrifying stories, yes. I'm so glad to have you here, and I can't wait to hear your jokes.
Oh, thank you. It's so much fun to be here. Even though it's empty, it's great. It's nice. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.
So let me tell you how my quarantine has been going. I'm all caught up on laundry, but I did realize that putting in a load of laundry is not being productive. It's just being optimistic that you're gonna wanna be productive an hour and a half from now and that dryer buzzer goes off. You know what I mean? I've been going outside, doing a little yard work. I did some mulching, and I realized I don't understand what mulch is. And I definitely don't understand why we think trees want to be surrounded by chopped up other trees. Unless it's like a super subtle threat, like, you better be a good tree, or you see what might happen to you. I've been napping a lot. I've actually been napping so much that I've gotten bored with napping, and I've had to start switching up my napping routine. So I've been napping on the couch, napping on the other side of the bed. Just yesterday, I woke up and immediately took a nap. It was great. But I will say quarantine has not been all fun and games. For example, it has completely taken the enjoyment for me out of drinking alone at noon. That used to be something special I could do for myself. And now, I don't know, it just feels kind of sad somehow. I'm not sure. I've been working from home. Day one of working from home, I realized I don't know the passwords to any of the systems that I use at work. And it turns out you can know like 95% of your password. And it's exactly the same as if you knew 0% of your password. There's no partial credit in passwords. I had one of those teleconference calls with a coworker the other day, and her 5-year-old daughter got on the call, and she informed me, Miss Abby, when I grow up, I'm going to marry Santa. And I was like, okay, I have some follow-up questions. So I asked her, why do you want to marry Santa? And she said, because he brings the best presents. So I decided to turn this into a teachable moment for this young girl, and I said, it is 2020. You do not need to marry a man to provide for you. She got a little glimmer of feminist understanding in her eyes, and she said, you're right, Miss Abby. When I grow up, I'm gonna marry Grandma. I've been watching a lot of Netflix. At the very beginning of quarantine, I started Orange is the New Black. So I was stuck at home watching this show about women in prison, and I got to thinking, what would I do if I were in prison? Well, how would I spend all my time? And at first I was like, I'd be one of those people who gets really good at yoga, or I would spend all my time in the law library. But now that we're 3 months into quarantine, I am 100% sure that I would spend all of my time making toilet wine. I've been watching a lot of true crime shows, like Forensic Files, things like that. I was watching a cold case the other day with a very dramatic narrator. He was like, this is gonna be like solving a very old jigsaw puzzle. One where some of the pieces are missing and some of the pieces are dead. And I was like, he nailed that metaphor all the way through until the very end. Dead puzzle pieces are not a thing. No one's getting to the end of a very old jigsaw puzzle, shaking the box like, well, great. 3 of these pieces are missing and another 5 are dead. We're never gonna solve this cold case now. My obsession with true crime has gotten to be a little bit of a problem with my significant other. We don't live together, so when he comes over to my house for the weekend and we sit down to watch something innocent like The Great British Baking Show, first we have to scroll through page after page of shows about murder that I've been watching, and I get a little defensive about this, and I start saying things like, there wouldn't be dozens of shows about murder if it wasn't a normal thing to be into, you know? Basically, I sound like any 13-year-old boy whose mom found his browsing history. I mentioned The Great British Baking Show, and I don't know if you out there watch that show. I highly recommend it. It is a show from England that originally was called The Great British Bake Off. But when they moved it to America, they had to change the name, and I was very interested to find out why. So I researched it, and I learned that they had to change the name because Pillsbury Dough owns the words bake off. They have trademarked those words. You cannot use those words. And I think there is nothing more American than having a big doughy white guy tell the British that those words, they're ours now. They're yours now. Sorry about that. So I met my significant other because of comedy. Because if you can listen to me talk for 10 minutes straight, just uninterrupted, and still want to ask me out afterwards, we are off to a good start. Like, that is a good foundation to a relationship right there. But one of the problems I'm having is I don't know what to call the person I'm dating. I'm in my 30s. I don't want to call him my boyfriend. This isn't junior high. He didn't ask me out by, like, slipping me a note in homeroom. No, he slid into my Facebook DMs like a grown-up. I want to call him something sophisticated, like my partner. But this is not a law firm. And also, most women my age who introduce you to their partner, they're probably swingers. I'm just warning you. Thanks to quarantine, we have reached a new relationship milestone. We are now 10 pounds into the relationship. 10 pounds in, getting very comfortable. In the beginning of our relationship, I used to try to keep it sexy, send him like a hot cleavage selfie from the office during the day with a little note like, you want to eat this for dinner? I don't know if that's sexy. But now I just send the same message, but it's a link to a soup recipe. So the magic is a little lost. So, my significant other is a nice guy. And if you're out there and you're watching this and you consider yourself to be a nice guy, but you're not willing to admit it, I think I know the problem. It's probably because you've heard the bad boy propaganda about nice guys, that they finish last. Have you heard that? That is not always true. Sometimes they finish before you. But the nice ones, they like whisper ask you if it's okay if they finish before you. It's adorable. Try nice guys. Thank you all so much. I've been Abby Mello from the Lou Room. Is that okay on that camera, or do you want?
No, okay, perfect. Great. Okay, awesome. Good job.